In this video, we're going to look at routing our URLs in Rails and how Rails goes about figuring out how to route URLs. So in our little Movie Critic application with our comment-generated scaffolding, we had a couple of links, action links here on the end to show a particular record, to edit that particular record, or to delete that particular record. I want to point out as I hover over those, look down in this lower left-hand corner here. I'll hover over one of them. And you'll notice the URL has at the end, it has comment/show/3. And if we go and look at our controller for that, we have a show, and sure enough, it's expecting an ID to come back in. Now if we look at our list, our HTML, and at that particular link, we see that the ID is set to comment, and by default, Rails takes this right here, this part, to mean that the ID of comment should be set to this ID. So that's how, when I hover over that, you see the ID of that particular comment. And if I go down to the next one, you'll see 4. Now, you may not want your Rails application to run this way, and you can change how you do that, and you do that through routing. We won't go real deep in the routing because it can be kind of complex how you actually do things there, but it's best to be exposed to it a little bit. The routing information is contained in the config folder of your application. In there's a file called routes.rb. And this is what that file looks like. You can ignore these comments by and large, though you take a look at them if you want some examples of what you can do. And there's two types of routes that you can really use here. One is a regular route, which you see here where it says map.connect. And the second kind is a named route, where you actually can name a route and invoke it from your code, either your ERB, your embedded Ruby, or in your controller. Basically, how a connect works is that you put in what you're expecting that URL to carry. In this case, it's controller, the symbol for controller, the action, and the ID. And if it doesn't see the ID, it's not necessarily going to put anything in for that ID, and it doesn't expect anything always. Keep in mind, these are evaluated in order. So if you have multiple routes that you've put in here, and expect something to happen with, say, a default value or something, but it was after this particular route, if it matches this one, it's somewhat like regular expressions, it will stop and give you this one. So you need to pay attention to how you're going to modify that connection there to see if it's going to respond the way that you want it to respond as far as the routing is concerned. There's many resources out there on the web how you can go more detail into routing. I just wanted to point out to you this is where the routing is controlled and what the URLs look like and how you can change how those URLs are accepted by Rails. And then in the actual generation part of Rails, that's done in a different section, which we'll talk about in other videos.